Brian Wilson, Mary Catherine Ham, Brian Neiman, today's newsmakers, and you, the Morning Majority. 105.9 FM. AM 630. WMAL.
6:07 on the Morning Majority. Gang's on here. Happy Veterans Day, by the way.
Hail, hail.
We got Major Garrett coming up about a half hour from now. Trevor Maddich in the next hour. Alan West, Congressman from Florida, joins us in the 8 o'clock hour. We got Brett Baer as well. Peter Morici, that is, joins us right now. Professor at the University of Maryland, economics professor, also former chief economist at the U.S. International Trade Commission. Peter, you've been around college campuses a long time. You're on a college campus right now. Just when you look at it from a systematic point of view when it comes to universities, the way they're set up, I'm just curious, does the president have the power that he needs at a university, or is there, I guess I'm going to think the Penn State situation is that the football coach is more powerful than the president?
Well, that has to do with popular support, not the way the university is structured. At virtually all universities, not all, a president can fire a coach. Now, the athletic director might not like him reaching through him or her, and
right.
He may ask the athletic director to do it so as to not to appear to violate them, or they may do it together. But very few coaches have tenure or academic tenure in the way that we think of it. I mean, I have known coaches to have academic tenure, but often that means that they get to teach PE class, but they don't get to keep the football team.
Right. But can the Board of Trustees step in at any time, or is it the president's call on most of these issues?
Like a corporation, the Board of Trustees is the ultimate authority, and a board could step in and replace the president and undo a firing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the issue here. The issue here is the students are being students. They're being 19 years old, and they're behaving, we 35, 40 years ago, we went from considering 21 an adult to considering 18 an adult. What's going on at Penn State draws into question that decision. They are not behaving like adults, and I think that they will appreciate what the administration is doing and has done 20 years from now, much more so than they do today. And this is just one of those times you say, no.
Yeah, I'm not doubting that one bit. I mean, I think the students are acting like fools. I'm just curious.
So they're acting like 19-year-olds.
See, I don't know if I give them...
19-year-olds are conscripts.
Yeah, their brains aren't done yet.
I don't know if I give them that much excuse. I don't know.
Well,
You're not a child when
you're
not a child when you're 18. I could have figured out how to react to a child sex abuse scandal in a serious manner when I was 18.
Absolutely, and many students do.
Yeah.
You have to remember, not every Penn State student is out there demonstrating, and to some extent, and this is something kids do, is they get caught up in the moment. But look at Occupy Wall Street. Some of those people are caught up in the moment. They don't really know why they're out. They're just having a good time being in the park.
Let me ask you this question, though, about university culture. Now, I'm not saying that we should even come close to comparing University of Maryland to what's happened in Pennsylvania, but you know how it is on a campus. Did they follow the right procedure in this case? I mean, is it instinctively an educator's gut move to go to like your superior rather than picking up the phone and calling police?
Well, for marginal crimes, your reaction should be to go to the administration and leave it with them. But for something this serious, something this graphic, there's no rule book for this. This is like being a military officer and being stuck with one of those tough decisions. For something that's serious, I mean, the law, the law trumps the university handbook. And if the law, says you should
that's
go
my
to
thought.
Right? If you saw a shooting and the president of the university said, "Oh, ignore it, Mr. Paterno," would you ignore it? Right. Well, rape is the same thing. And my feeling is that Paterno let us down. He let himself down. It's very, very sad. And what's going on at that university is an indication of how corrupting this hysteria or college sports can be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people are willing to throw academic standards to the wind. Would we tolerate graduating incompetent military officers at West Point for the sake of having a winning football team? They have made that decision. The answer is no. It's about time we started making decisions like that.
I agree with you 100% on that. It is a multi-million-dollar business, ultimately. And the Board of Trustees also have a business to run, and that is the future of Penn State University. They had no choice, and unfortunately it just took too long for them to step in and show some guts and say this has got to stop. It's not worth it.
Generally speaking, these kinds of decisions where you put off bad news because something is making you money usually comes back at you. Just like, remember years ago, Ford covering up the problem with the gas tank in the Pinto? These things come back at you over and over again. These are the sorts of things we do with cases in business school to say, look, this is what happened, or why did this happen? Well, they didn't deal with the problem in the first place. Bingo! I mean, that's always the answer.
Yep.
Always is a very strong word. That is 99% of the time the answer, and it's hard to find the 1% where it's not.
Well, speaking of things, the people who haven't dealt with a problem, let's turn to the Greek situation and the situation in Italy, where we continually find that people are not dealing with the situation. We think the problem's solved, but then the next day it looks like, no, the problem's not solved. Give me your assessment of what's going on, and will, the European zones be broken up?
Well, Europe got along without a single currency, and it had an economic union, and it can do that again. This is a false question. Is it preserve the union or not? It's really, do we preserve a common currency? And Greece, Italy, Spain, Portugal, they make no sense inside a common currency because they are structured very differently than say, Germany. And what we've had is a series of Band-Aids to try to keep a broken system going. And sooner or later, because they don't want to face the music, it's happening. My feeling is that Italy is insolvent, and that is big enough to bust up the system.
Wow, that's bad.
Italy is insolvent. A debt to GDP of 130% with zero population growth. That's very important. It's not just the size of the debt. It's how fast your economy could grow.
Mm-hmm.
At full employment, if we were at full employment, Greece could grow at about 2% a year. That probably is not enough because that would give you a nominal growth rate with inflation of about 5%, and that is probably not enough.
Even with a 50% haircut?
Even with a 50% haircut, because they'll just get in more trouble and then eventually it'll happen again. These countries are set up inside the Eurozone in a situation where they have to borrow too much.
So what happens? So Italy has to fail and Greece has to fail?
Well, if Italy fails, watch for France to fail. If there were a couple of great frauds, I've been right about.
You're not making my morning. I got to tell you.
I understand, but I've been right about this before, if you'll recall.
Yes.
One of the great frauds being perpetrated on mankind and the bonds market, as it was with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, is that France's AAA. If you take away the common currency, Germany and France make a lot less sense. All of a sudden, the Germans who are telling us how they have all these economic reforms, heck, they have a 32-hour work week over there. They profit from an undervalued currency thanks to what's going on. Their exports are artificially cheap. If Italy leaves, the euro breaks up, the Deutschmark comes back, it floats up, and all of a sudden they don't look like mental giants. No, and France... France is marginal as it is. My feeling is that France starts to get into trouble.
All right. So what does that mean? And we don't have a lot of time.